Flips around the other way though.
This way?
Yeah, that way.
Surpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely founded, even 100,000 million kalpas. Having to see and listen to remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words.
Good morning, everybody. Is the sound on? Yes. There.
Put it just a little bit below your mouth. Get the best sound. Yeah, that's good.
That's good?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Well, isn't this nice? I'm very happy to be here at Samish Island, a very special place on earth, among a group of very special people. You are special people. Really, you really are. Now, I recognize that you and I are pretty much just like everybody else, so I don't mean it that way. But the genius of sesshin is that it creates a background of silence and dignity and respect. And against that background, the foreground shines as a precise, unique beauty. Each person, each thing, every blade of grass, every hopping bunny, every robin, every swooping swallow is perfect against this wonderful background. And this is the great pleasure of sesshin. We can feel this. This is not just an idea. We feel it. We feel it every day. And on the first morning of sesshin, which was very special for me because I seemed to never be here for the first morning. So this year, I was actually here for the evening before, when sesshin began, and for the very first morning. And I was so moved at morning service, which I also seldom attend, to see lined up in a row beside the altar our three lay teachers in their green rakusus, beautifully sitting there quietly doing the chanting and the bells and the mokugyo. Three truly special and extraordinary women, each one of whom has spent a long life healing other people, quietly performing the service of honoring the Buddha in each one of us, with gentle bells and voice and quiet drum. I thought I did myself a great job, not bursting into tears as I might have. I didn't do that. I just sat there calm as if nothing were going on. But it was really great. It was a wonderful start to session. So today is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all of you who are fathers. Too bad for you and for me that we're here and not with our families where they would make a big fuss over us and maybe give us a present or something. But actually, it's not too bad. We are very happy, at least I am very happy to be here. So I offer my own honor and gratitude today to all our fathers and my two sons who are wonderful fathers. Everybody had a father, I guess. I guess that's true. Still, isn't that right? They're still our fathers. Everybody had a father, at least a biological father of some sort. Nowadays, there are lots of families without fathers. Lots of families that have two mothers or one mother, possibly one father. Maybe there are people who are both mothers and fathers, or neither mothers and fathers. It's a very full picture. But anyway, somehow or other, there are mothers and there are fathers, and we appreciate that. These mothers and fathers, they take care of us. If we're here, they must have done something right. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. They protected us. They loved us, and we loved them. I mean, I realize that we are complicated human beings, so we often have all sorts of problems with our fathers and mothers, who unfortunately, because of their karmic entanglements, don't always act in the nicest way. So not every relationship with mothers and fathers is completely pleasant and supportive, but in the end, when our hearts are unburdened and free, we always end up appreciating our fathers and mothers. And today, our fathers. Maybe you could say that the Buddhas are like our fathers and the Bodhisattvas are like our mothers. And I'm thinking this morning especially of our great mother Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Guanyin Kannon Kanzeon Bosatsu, the great Bodhisattva of compassion, who we refer to every day in our chanting. I notice in the sutra dedication, again, one of my experiences of the first morning of service was noticing how you have added Kanzeon, Kannon Bodhisattva to the echo in the dedication. Traditionally, the dedication mentions Manjushri Bodhisattva, but not Kannon, the Bodhisattva of compassion. And I think this is because in Zen, anyway, for a long time in Zen, wisdom was emphasized more than compassion, with the understanding that wisdom and compassion are actually the same thing. They always must go together. Compassion and love, as we know, can sometimes be troublesome and painful, not so great. When we love with attachment and too much need, or when we're compassionate in a bossy, overbearing way, because we want to feel like we're compassionate people and we want other people to realize how compassionate we are, often it doesn't go that well. You've noticed this. And that's why in Buddha Dharma, compassion is always based on the wisdom of emptiness. And that's why the Heart Sutra, which is a sutra about prajna, the wisdom that sees emptiness, is spoken by Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva of compassion. Because she practices the Prajnaparamita, the wisdom that cognizes emptiness, she is compassionate. And that is the root and the source of her compassion. She sees that there are no separate beings. There's no helping. There's no one to help. And there's no compassion. She really gets that. She knows that the only thing there is, ever, is the loving flow of reality. And of course, she understands then that the only thing that you can do, the only thing that anyone ever does, is to splash right into that loving flow of reality with a full heart. And naturally, the only thing you're going to want to do is to love everybody and do whatever you can to help and never to harm. Yesterday, Tim brought up a case from the Book of Serenity, and that made me think of another case from the Book of Serenity. Actually, I've been thinking about this case since I was down at Tassajara a week or two ago. And I heard a Dharma talk down there by our abbot, Tenzin David Zimmerman. And he's a wonderful abbot of Zen Center, and I've known David for a while. But I think it's possible that that was the first time I ever heard him give a Dharma talk. And it was a really great Dharma talk. Very thorough, very learned. He even transgressed the strict 30-minute window that they give for a Dharma talk. I never dared to do that. I always look at the clock and stop immediately. But he went way over. But that was okay. He's the abbot after all. You can. I think this talk is posted online. He gave the same talk at the city center, and they posted it online. And you can see that after sesshin, of course. It's case 12 of the Book of Serenity. Dizang plants the fields. Here's the case. Dizang asked Shuishan, "Where are you coming from?" And Shuishan said, "From the south." Dizang said, "How is Buddhism in the south these days?" And Shuishan said, "There's extensive discussion." Dizang said, "How can that compare to me here planting the fields and cooking rice to eat?" Shuishan said, "What can you do about the world?" Dizang said, "What do you call the world?" So that's case 12 of Book of Serenity. And in the commentary, we learned the backstory to this. Dizang at this time was taking care of a temple on Dizang, in Dizang. And it was a place where, on a route, so sometimes pilgrims would stop there. And one time, Shuishan, along with Fayan, Wudong, and Jinshan, were going on their way south on pilgrimage, and they were blocked by rain, snow, and swollen valley streams, and they had to put up at Dizang's temple. And it was really, really cold, and in those days they didn't have such good heating. They had a little brazier, and everybody had to sit around the brazier to sort of warm up. So they were sitting around the brazier, as religious people do, having learned discussions about their religious tradition. And in those discussions, Dizang was there, but they ignored him completely, figuring he was just some country priest, So they didn't include him in the discussions, but he sat there on the edge of the discussion, patiently paying attention. Finally, he spoke up. He said, "There's something I would ask about. Do you mind if I ask?" And Shuishan said, "If you have something, please ask." Dizang said, "Are the mountains, rivers, and earth identical or separate from you, venerable elders?" And Sri Shan said, "Separate." Dizang held up 2 fingers. And Sri Shan was a little nonplussed by this response, and he quickly corrected himself and said, "Identical, identical, identical." Dizang held up 2 fingers and left. Fayan was really impressed with this, and he said to the other elders, "What do you think he meant by that?" And they all said, "Phew, he doesn't know anything." They brushed it off. But Fayan kept thinking about it. And when it came time to leave, they all left, and Fayan said, "I'm not going. I think I'll stay here and see what this guy Dizang has to say." So Fayan stayed and practiced with Dizang for a while. Time went by, and the same group, or at least some of them, including Shuishan, came back from the south on their way home and again stopped at the temple. And that's when the story in our case took place. Where are you coming from? From the south. How is Buddhism in the south these days? There's extensive discussion. How can that compare to me here planting the fields and making rice to eat? What can you do about the world? What do you call the world? Buddhism is really interesting. I really like it. It's a good thing, right? Yeah, I really like it. I'm always cheered up. Whenever I stop reading the newspaper and start reading Dogen or something. I'm much cheered. It's really interesting and challenging. I think most of the books that are published in English don't really reference the depths of the Buddha Dharma. The teachings are very extensive, very sophisticated, and you could easily spend your whole life studying them. Tim was saying this yesterday. You could never exhaust them. And you probably, even after a lifetime, wouldn't get that far. And for sure, we do that. We study the teachings. We try hard to understand. And I don't think you get to where you say, "I got it now. I can go on to other things." That doesn't even make sense. You never come to the end of it. And Dogen always says, investigate this. Indeed, what does it mean? These teachings, this reality that we think we are living, what does it really mean? So yes, there are lots of discussions going on in the South. Lots of profound and wonderful, searching discussions. And sometimes we have discussions like that ourselves. But our practice isn't really so much about understanding the teachings of Buddhism. Really, our practice is just to do one thing completely. Doing one thing all the way through till the end. So when we sit, we're completely sitting. When we're counting the breath, as we learned yesterday, we are counting the breath with our whole heart. We're not strategizing about it. We're not holding anything back. We're not being lazy, looking for something better or more. We're just doing it. And there's nothing better. Everything we could ever need is always given in every moment of our human activity. And that's our vision. And that's our strength. So, on his return visit, when he encounters Dizang again, and Dizang says to him, how can discussing Buddhism in the South compare with me here planting the fields and cooking rice? Somehow this time, Shishuan hears Dizang and understands who Dizang is. And that's why he asks him a very serious question. What can you do about the world? What are we doing about the world? As we know, yesterday there was a big, important protest. I think these protests are actually quite important. And we didn't go to it. We're sitting here in silence. And we're going to sit here in silence for the rest of the week, no matter what goes on in the world. There is so much need in this world, so much suffering. How can we sit here doing absolutely nothing about it? Actually, in my opinion, we are doing something about it. I think to practice the Buddha way, to sit zazen, is a very powerful thing to do to make the world a better place. Dogen writes that not even a Buddha can measure the virtue of even a single moment of the zazen of just one person. The power of one moment of one person's zazen, not to mention all of us together sitting zazen for a whole week, is truly beyond measure. It is inconceivable, which is to say, it doesn't make sense. We can't argue for it. It is inconceivable, but it is so. We're not just sitting here meditating to be peaceful and improve our health, although I hope everybody has a lot of peace and is healthy. We're sitting here expressing and effectualizing in a way that perhaps none of us can understand our mighty vow to save all beings. Someone who really studies Buddhism a lot is my wife, Kathy. When she gives a Dharma talk, she has stacks of books, I just make it up. She actually studies stuff and knows things. And she's been studying about the Anlushan rebellion and talking about it all the time. I'm sure several of you have heard her, many of you probably have heard her talking about the Anlushan rebellion, which is one of the greatest catastrophes in Chinese history. And probably one of the greatest catastrophes in human history, in which many tens of millions of people perished. They don't even know how many. Possibly as many as 50 million people, possibly as much as 2/3 of the population of China at that time, perished in this rebellion that lasted for 8 years, I think, and in the chaos and the famine that followed the fighting. The great capital cities of Luoyang and Chang'an that had fabulous Buddhist monasteries all burnt down, the monasteries were destroyed. And that's how come our Zen ancestors went to the mountains. The way of practice that they developed, the way that we are more or less continuing when we do sesshin, when we do zazen, was their response to the greatest catastrophe that they had ever seen. And they found peace and stability and a sense of purpose in their sitting and in their daily lives, planting the fields and taking care of the monastery. Like ordinary people everywhere in the world in ancient times, they had no expectation that anything that they could possibly do would change the situation in the world. So they did what they could do. They created a way of life that had meaning and power in its own way. A way of life that they truly believed would have an ultimate, if not an immediate, impact on humanity. They saw that every moment of zazen, every moment of practice, was a seed that would blossom into human goodness, peace, and kindness in the world. And that's why they threw their whole heart into their practice. In the last, couple of 100 years, for the first time, human beings like us have felt empowered that we could actually do something that would change society. We could vote. We can influence things. Maybe we ourselves could become leaders and rulers, even if we didn't grow up in a noble family. Possibly we could become leaders and shape the world. Anybody could. We think that. And it seems to be true. And this has made us feel responsible for what happens in the world around us. And it's also given us a tremendous expectation that we should be making the world a better place. So we're really disappointed. And we really feel disempowered when we look around and see the world in such disarray. What did we do wrong? What did we fail to see? And more importantly, what can we do now to fix it? But the sad truth is that confusion and trouble has always been normal in the human world because human beings are confused and full of trouble inside. If in the last little while in our societies, some of them anyway, there seemed to be less confusion, maybe we were just temporarily lucky for a minute, because it's not the usual way. Or maybe it was all an illusion, actually. Maybe it wasn't as nice as we thought it was. What can you do about the world? Well, we can certainly have extensive discussions. I think all of us have had many wise discussions about the world. But how can this compare to our sitting here, planting the fields of the heart of the world? Now, I don't mean to say that we should only do Zen practice, that we should not do other actions that have a more direct impact on the world. On second thought, I do think that we should do nothing but Zen practice and nothing else. But Zen practice includes all of our human activity. Somebody quoted me the other day, something I haven't said in many decades. I used to say, there's two parts to Zen practice, sitting down and getting up. I don't say that anymore, but I used to say that. It's true. Everything we do is part of our practice. All of our human activity, being here with our human activity all the time and seeing the emptiness of all dharmas as it appears constantly is our practice. So we should only do our practice and nothing else. And that practice includes all of our activity, includes especially working for the good of all beings. Because that's part of our bodhisattva vow. So for sure, our practice includes working for the good in whatever way is given to us, and that is according to our situation. We're all in different situations. In fact, each of us does have a lot of power to change the world for the better. And if you can run for office, you should run for office and do a good job in your office. If you have a lot of money, you should give a lot of money to good causes and work for them. If you can attend protests and you want to do that, and you're good at making signs, there's so many clever signs in the protests. They have amazing signs all over the place. Make some signs. I'm lazy, I see the signs and I say, wow, how many hours did it take to make that sign? But make a sign and go to the protest if you want to do that. I think it's a good thing to do. Write letters, sign petitions, voice your opposition to policies that you think are uncompassionate and unwise, and do that in whatever way you can think of doing it. But even if you can't run for office and you don't have any money, and you're too old to go to protests and you don't have a lot of energy, you can have a very powerful impact on this world by sitting quietly and with your committed and consistent acts of kindness and love. Everything that we do in our practice is the fulfillment of our endless bodhisattva vow to work for the benefit of others. When we say beings are numberless, I vow to save them, we're not kidding. We mean this. We really mean it. Just in chanting the vow, as we're going to do in a few minutes, we feel stronger. We feel better. We know we have work to do. We know it's not finished yet. And we know that we will go on until the end of time, be born and reborn on the strength of that vow. And we'll get there. Because there is a tremendous power in this deep projection of the human heart that's expressed not only in the Bodhisattva vow, but in all of our great spiritual traditions. This deep thought that a day will come when people can live in harmony with kindness and justice and respect for everyone. And when we practice, we come to understand that that day is here right now, even in the middle of the chaos and the fear and the violence. It's here. In his Dharma talk about the case, David did a really brilliant job, I thought, of reminding us that the world is not what we think it is. When we look at the world and see problems and troubles, and we think that we're really seeing the world, we are wrong about that. We're not seeing the world. We're seeing the extensive discussions about the world. We're seeing the fears and the ideas. We're receiving lots of perspectives. All of them are true. All of them are true. All of them are false. Think about it. The Buddha understood from the very beginning that there is no abiding factual self, just a flow of reality. And there is no abiding factual world. We make the self in the world with our confused ideas born of our fear of losing what we never had in the first place. We create our own fear and confusion, and then we take it to be an objective fact, which makes us suffer all the more. Now, don't get me wrong. There are bad stuff, bad things going on all around us. There are cruel things going on in the world, stupid things going on, terrible things. And there always have been. So bodhisattvas always have stuff to do. Try to stop those things from happening if it's possible. And the experience that we have of our own suffering about the state of the world is certainly real. And we have to turn toward it and take care of it. And take care of ourselves in it. But we can't forget Dizang's fundamental teaching here, given in the form of a question. What do you call the world? What world are we really living in? What world have we created with our words and ideas? Are we seeing the real world? Are we seeing the same world that the Buddhas, with their eyes of compassion, saw? If we are seeing a world that only appears to us as distressed and depressing, we are seeing a one-dimensional world. And we should ask ourselves, what world is this? What am I calling the world? Whatever world we're seeing, it's only the world we're seeing. It's not the world. Actually, Swishan didn't say, what can you do about the world? He didn't say that. Literally, what he said was, what can you do about the three worlds? And Djang said, what do you call the three worlds? So in Buddhism, there are three worlds. Kamadhatu, Rupadhatu, and the Arupadhatu, three worlds. The Kamadhatu is the karmic world, the world that we live in, the shared world that we are concerned about. The Rupadhatu is the world of form, not unlike Plato's world of forms, a world that is ideal and yet is more real than the world that stands behind. The world of form is ideal and more real than the world that we see every day. It stands behind that world and enables that world, the Rupadhatu does. And the Arupadhatu is the formless world, a world that's further refined, a world beyond all space and time, and beyond concepts of existence and non-existence. It neither exists nor doesn't exist. Buddha taught that all these three worlds exist at the same time and place, they depend on one another, and they are all equally real. In our world, with our worldview that pretty much everybody here shares, because we have been conditioned in this world that we live in, so our whole mind is shaped around the idea that the only real world is the Kamadhatu. All other worlds are imaginary. Which is true, I guess. if you think of the Rupa Dhatu and Arupa Dhatu as imaginary, they are imaginary in the sense that they are for sure non-material. And if the only world that's real is the material world, then these other worlds are surely imaginary worlds. But the Buddhists didn't think that they were less real. They thought they were more real, as real, than the Kamadhatu. And they knew this because throughout history, they experienced these worlds firsthand in their meditation practice. So they knew that they were real. The four jhanas and the four formless jhanas that Tim mentioned in his talk yesterday are the names of the Buddhist meditation states that express these worlds of form and beyond form. According to the Buddha, awakening is leaping beyond all of these worlds, seeing through all of them, and recognizing them, that all of them are constructions, and that there is no self, no person, and no world. Which is to say, the world is here, we know it's here, but it has dimensions beyond what we can see and hear and taste and touch and smell and think and describe with our words and ideas. All dharmas are empty. Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, practices this emptiness, and that's why her heart is so full of compassion for this lovely, suffering, perfect world. The poem on the case says in part, source and explanation variously all made up, passing from mouth to ear, it comes apart. Planting fields, cooking rice, ordinary household matters. Only those who have investigated to the full would know. Having investigated to the full, you know there's nothing to seek. Source and explanation, variously all made up, passing from mouth to ear, it comes apart. The real world, the three worlds, are beyond our conceptions of them. In a way, this is so obvious, right? Of course that's true. I'm going to know the world. My little brain here, this little 3-pound thing, is going to somehow know and describe the world. And yes, we're talking about the world. We all know what the world is. How does anybody even think that such a thing even makes sense? Of course we know this. It's much more than we could ever know. Of course it is. But we think and we speak. And when we're talking, we think we know what we're talking about, naturally. We have to do that. That's the kind of animal we are. Dogs bury bones. We have extensive discussions. So good. I like a discussion myself, But don't forget, let's not forget, that there's something beyond our discussions. We really and truly, literally, physically, psychologically, are making up the world in our minds. That's why when we talk to one another from the mouth to the ear, it all comes apart. And we rush around in confusion. until it all devolves into shouting and confusion and fear and fighting. So in the midst of our despair and confusion, let's not forget this truth that Dizang is teaching us. Let's stop for a moment and ask ourselves, what do we call the world? Planting fields, cooking rice, ordinary household matters. Only those who have investigated to the full would know. Having investigated to the full, you know there's nothing to seek. So in sesshin, we're so lucky. We have a chance to live exactly the same lives that our Chan ancestors lived. Simple clothing. Isn't it nice you don't have to open up your extensive closet and think, what shall I wear today? And what jewelry goes with it? What shoes? Is this one? I don't know if that goes. That one? You don't have to worry about that because we only have one shirt to put on. That's it. Simple clothes. Simple food. What will I eat this afternoon? What's the difference? They're gonna feed me. I'll eat what they give me. Simple work. Plenty of rest. And lots of wonderful silence. There is absolutely nothing we need that we do not have. There is absolutely nothing in this wide world missing. So I close my Dharma talk today with a very short introduction to the case. Scholars plow with the pen, orators plow with the tongue. We poor patch-robed mendicants lazily watch a white ox on open ground, not paying attention to the rootless, auspicious grass. How to pass the days. Thank you very much for listening to my talk and for welcoming me into the Sangha up here yet again. I don't know how many times you've shown your generosity and kindness, and I do appreciate it. Let's sit sesshin with strength and with power for everyone, okay? And let's not stop doing this until we get what we want, right? What we really want. Let's keep it up until we get what we really, really want. Thank you very much.
May our intentions equally extend to every being and place with the true merit of Buddha's reign. Beings are numberless, I God forsake them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates